I'll be making use of the student data sets that I downloaded already. Let me try to import the data. I'm trying to upload the data sets. So this is the data set that I just downloaded. So I copy the path to this data set now. Copy path, okay. What we want to do basically today is to check attribute of a data frame, then the index the value. So I'll be reading in the importing library now. I will be import the necessary library. As usual, we import our NumPy and pandas. And I run the code. Then the next one line, I'm reading the file. ed.read. Then I put in the name of the data which I just copied. Then I will check if it's exactly what I have. So this is the data. So I need to name it. I will call it students data. Student equals to ed.read_csv. So these are to check the attributes of our data sets. We have the data.student.info. A data frame simply means a particular arrangement of data in rows and columns. That's what the data frame is. So students.info. So this will give us information about the data set. We can see that it's a Panda core data frame. Then the index ranges from we have 26 entries, which means 26 rows or 26 observations. Then the index ranges from 0 to 25. We can see that here. Students. You can see that this is the index. The first index is 0, then the last one is 25. That's the meaning of this line. That it means we have 26 entries. Then the index is from 0 to 25. Then the second line is telling us about the columns we have. We have total columns. We have 9 columns. Then these are the columns: first name, last name, gender. This particular line is telling us about non-null count. For example, this is the data set we are working on. Everything is filled. Everything from the beginning to the end is filled. No, we don't have an empty, like a empty entry, maybe a row or for any of the course. Everything is filled. So this is telling us that non-null count is 26. That means we have 26 non-null. That is, the 26 are filled for the first name, the same thing for the last name, the same thing for all of the columns we have. Then we have the data type. The type is telling us the data type. The first column is first name, then it's an object data type. An object data type is just string, like a combination of strings. Then we have the last name, the same thing, strings, object data type. Then we have gender. The data type is also object. Then we have the math, which is the score in mathematics. We can see that those ones, they are in integer. From the table here, these are the values we have for mathematics from 75 down to. Then the second one we have English, then we have floats. Let's check the column. You can see there are some floating points there, 33.3, 96.67. Those are the floating points. The same thing for biology. We have some floating points there. Then for economics, all of them are also integer as well. Economics, integer. Then we have Greek, integer. Then we have floats. The last two, they are floats, the Greek and intelligence. So that's basically what the data.info is going to tell us. Don't forget when you are writing it, this parenthesis, if you don't put it, the code, okay, we actually see the result, but it won't be as structured as we have it in the first place. So don't forget to always put the parenthesis, student.info. Another attribute we can check is student.shape. Student.shape. If you try to put the parenthesis there, it might not work. It won't work because it doesn't have to take parentheses. So we just need to write it like this, student.shape. There are no parentheses. The shape is telling us the shape of our data set. The first value here is telling us the number of rows we have. Then the second one is telling us the number of columns. Oh, someone is asking where I got the CSV. Don't worry. The CSV is one of the data I've worked on. So I have it on my Google Drive. I have it on my drive. This is where I downloaded it. Maybe I will send it after the class. Shape, you check the shape of the data set. If you want to check for the row only, just type student.shape. Then you put this square bracket, then 0. The reason is because we have these two values when we check the result. Then if you put parentheses, then we call the like we ask for the first value in the parentheses, which is 26. Let's try and run that. You can see we have 26. The same thing for the column. And instead of writing 0, what number am I going to put in the square bracket instead of 0? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I said for the rows, I put student.shape, then 0 in the square bracket. When we want to check the column, what do I put in the square bracket instead of 0?
1.
Okay. You put 1 to check the number of columns we have. So that we have 9 columns. If you want to check the number of those columns, you want to check like the name of the columns, just columns. This will give us all the columns we have: the first name, the last name, gender, mathematics, English, biology, economics, and Greek, and so on. Then another thing we can do on the data is to perform general statistics, descriptive statistics. Students does describe. Have students dot describe. From this, some other time when you have very long, like you have a very long column, you have, let's say it occupies all the space we have from the beginning here to like the end. You can use transpose to change the format. So you can see this. Count is telling us the number of the count of the variable. For example, mathematics, we have 2 observations for mathematics, 2 observations for English. The same thing for biology, economics, and Greek. Then the mean is telling us the mean score for mathematics is 80. Then the standard deviation is 23.66. Then the minimum value for mathematics is 0. That means there is a student or some students that score 0. Then the 25 percentile is 75. Then the 50 percentile is 85. And 50 percentile is the same thing as the median. Then we have 75 percentile, which is 100. This 25 percentile, I think it means like less than 25% of people score 70. Less than or equals to 25% of people, then 75% are the same thing. Then we have the maximum score. The maximum score for each of the subjects is 100, 100, 100. So that's basic description of this data set. Now we can see that, for example, if we compare the mean and the median, there's the kind of relationship between the mean and the median. For example, the mean is 80 here, then we have 100. That means our median is greater than the mean. So that's basically the description of our student data set. Another thing we can check is the data type for each. Although we have the data type here, the objects, integer, float. We can check it separately. Student.dtype. You can see we have first name is an object which is string data type, then others integer and float as well. So we can check the maximum and the minimum value for each of the subjects. Students dot max. Nope. So who can tell me why we have success here when we check for the maximum, the first name? Who can tell me why we have success as our maximum value? Hello? Can anyone tell us why we have success as our maximum value for first name? Hello? Can anyone hear me, please? Hello?
I can hear you, sir.
No one was responding. What's happening?
We can hear you.
Why do we have success as our maximum value for the first name?
Yes, the highest score, I think.
Okay. I saw a message in the chat box because it is the longest. Okay, someone said it is the longest. Someone said he has the highest score. Any other opinion? And someone else? So we know of mathematics, English, biology. We know that the highest score we have in each of them is 100. Then intelligence, the highest score is 99.7. But the reason why we have the highest first name, maximum first name to be success is because I think in the first name column, S is the, like when it's arrange the names alphabetically. So I think S is the PQRS. We have PQRS. Okay. Do we have T? We don't have T. So S is the, like when the names are arranged alphabetically, S is the last alphabet on the first name. The same thing with the last name. While W is the last alphabet when we arrange it alphabetically. Then in mathematics we have 100. The same thing for English and the rest. So another thing we can do is to change the axis. Equals to, by default axis is 0. So another thing we can do is to check minimum. Student don't mean. minimum value. This is very clear. The first alphabet is A, then the second name as well A, then the gender we have F before the M, then for the scores we have 0, 0. Then the least score in our Greek is 14.5. Then the least level of intelligence is 4.08. Then another thing we can do is to sum up student.sum. By default, it will sum the values along the row. You can see that sum, I think it added all the names after all the first names, just like combining them together. The same thing with the last name, it added everything. Then the gender as well, we have male, female, blah, blah, blah. Then for the mathematics, it's added all the scores for mathematics. Let me show you what just happened. Students. Edge. So for this dot sum, it does it along the row like this. For example, we have Atta, Imran, James. It's added the names downward like this. For the same thing for the last name, the same thing for the gender, the same thing for the mathematics, the same thing for English. So all of our mathematics score combined is 2080. All of our English score combined is 1360. So that's addition along the row. Then another thing we can do is addition across the column. So that will be, like, for example, let's say we want to have the highest score for each of these students. Student.sum, then we change the axis to 1. Axis equals to 1. I'll see this now. For the first student, his score combined is 414. Then for the second, we can make this another column now. We call it total. Let's call it total. From our previous classes, can anyone tell me how to add a new column to a data frame? That's one of the things we did in our pandas, the first pandas class, I think. Can anyone tell me how to go about that? We want to include another column to our data set. Instead of having just this, we want to add another column, which will be the total for these students. So this is what we want to do. We want the sum here. Then we want the axis to be across the column. Axis equals to 1. Then we select what exactly we want to add. EF. Then we put in the list of the list of the subjects. Then we separate each one of them by a comma. You can check what we have here. If it's the same thing, okay, our data set is not there. Our data set's name is student. So we have this. So this is exactly what we want to sum. Dot sum. Then axis equals to 1. You can see now we have 414.6, which is exactly the same thing with what we have here. So I cannot put this one in a separate row. Students, then I call the new column total equals to, then I check my student data set. Student. Let me use .ed. You can see now we have the new column, which is the total score for each of the students from the mathematics to the level of intelligence. But we don't really need this intelligence. So what we need to do now is to remove this from our columns. So let's try and run it again. You can see now we have the total score for the student. So another thing is student.ed. We use student.ed. I talked about this yesterday. To check, by default, it gives you the first 5 data points, the first 5 rows in the data set. You can modify it to your taste. You can decide to put just one. That's just one. Then you can make it 20. It will give you the first 20, the data for the first 20 students. You can see that. Then the same thing for tail, student.tail. It will give you the last 20. And you can make it just 5. By default, it is 5. You can make it 7 or 3. So these are the last 3 students on the list. Another thing, if you just need a sample, or you want on top of the table, so you just do students dot sort, then you sort the values, by what? One of the parameters this function takes is by intelligence, by total. So you put in the total, and you can first run it and see. So if you check this very well, we see that by default, it sorts the value, the total value, by ascending order. That is from the smallest to the biggest. Whereas what you need is from the biggest down to the lowest. So you put, there is another parameter inside this called ascending. And ascending by default is true. Then you change it to false. That means we want it in a descending order. So we have it now. The highest total score is 487, 470, 444. Another thing you can do, you can change the total value. You can make it list of, for example, you want to see the highest student in mathematics and English. Then you put in, instead of having this total, you just put in the 2 values. So you put in a list of column. So you separate the 2 columns by a comma. So you try to run the code. So this is it. You can see that the first thing, you first sort by mathematics, then after that English. So you can include as many columns as you want. But since we are only interested in the total column, we sort it by the column. So that's, you can just check the head, and we make it 10. For example, let's say you need the number of the first 10 students. This is the number of the first 10 students now. But if you check the index here, we can see that the students are somehow randomly distributed. For example, the first student, the student with ID 1, index 1, is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, it's on the 5th position. One thing you can do is to, for example, let me call this data first 10. First underscore 10 equals to first 10. So we can see that this index is not arranged from 0 to like from the smallest to the lower. One thing you can do is to reset the index. Reset index. So you add a parenthesis to your code. You can see that index has been reset. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, but when we reset the index, we still have the the initial index. So you need to include one more parameter, drop equals to true. Drop here means that you are dropping the first index, the original index. Let's run it and check now. We see that we don't have the index anymore. So that's how you order a data set by a particular column. And another thing you can do, you can arrange the name alphabetically. You sort the value then by first name, and you can sort it by first name and last name. Then you have the name in order from people that their name starts from A, B, C, D, and you have it like that. So another thing you can do is to check your data set if you have missing values. Check for missing values. Are you with me, please?
Yes, we are.
So can anyone tell me, like, the reason why we might have missing values in our data sets? I'm going to try and delete some data points here. Then I will import it again. I'm listening, please. Hello? Can anyone tell me the reason why we have null value, missing values in our data sets?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, now from this data we are using now, it seems the student data, it could be that the student was absent from the subjects math, English, or Agric. It could be that he or she was absent during the text or exam.
Okay, thank you. Any other person? So I will download this data set again now.
So, if I may, I think another reason that might make us have an empty set is, sorry, a missing value is probably when the data was being entered, probably one was omitted mistakenly or not,
Okay,
or
thank you.
consciously or unconsciously. Rather.
So you are both correct. So those are the most times, maybe during the data entry, consciously or unconsciously, they might omit some values. And then another thing, the student might be absent. Or for example, maybe they ask some students to input their name manually. Then some student decided not to input it, or they make mistake. So those are the things that can cause missing value. So let's check for the first one. Student dot. To check the missing value, there are like few things you can try. One is, I think you can make use of dot now. Dot NA. No, okay, let's use of dot is okay, it's now. So this one will give us a kind of false. If what you are asking the data frame is there null value in your data set, then it is telling us that for each of these data points, false, 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 then no, no, no. If you want it to return something, we do dot sum. Dot sum means add all the no together. For example, we know false is 0, false is 0, false is 0. So it will add everything together and give us 0. This is it. So I'm going to import the second data set, the one I just downloaded. I will name it student 2. I copied the path already. Oh, I did not. So this is the student 2. Then I'm going to check. I will continue, since we did the exploration already, I will continue from the same thing I did to this. I'm going to do it I will do it for this student 2 as well. Student 2 dot is null. Instead of using is null here, we can use is null. That sounds somewhat straightforward. Dot is null. Then let's check. You can see some true, some false condition. You can see that, right? For example, we have true here, then true here, true here. Can we see that, please? Hello.
Yeah, we can see it.
That means those true values, the places where we have true, that means those values they are missing. So one thing you can do to aggregate them is to use dot sum. This, for example, this particular, the first row here, we don't have any true value. Then for the second row, we have just one. A single true value means one. Then another one means if you have more than one, it keep adding one to them. For example, here we have one true here, then we have another one here. The one true is one, then the other one is one. One plus one, two. So that's how the dot sum does. That's what it does. You can see. In the first name, in total, we have 4 missing values. In last name, we have 3 missing values. Gender, the same thing. Then mathematics is 3. Then in English, we have 2. In biology, we have 1. Then the last one as well, we have 4. So that's how to check for missing value. Another thing you can say, let's say you have a very large data set. For example, you have thousands. Most time you'll be working on thousands of data points of rows. One thing you can do to just do a quick summary. For example, you have 22,500 missing value. Is that a big value or small value? Hello? If I have, for example, my first name, I have 73,000 missing first names. Is that a big value to like something I should be worried about, or I can just leave it as it is? No one is talking.
It could be omission.
Like, let's say I check my missing value now. Instead of having 4, then maybe I'm working on a very large data set. Then I have 23,000 missing values. Do I need to worry about it?
Yeah, I think we should worry about it. We should
Yes.
really worry about it.
Okay, it's one of the things that like guys, I don't know if it is general or just some specific to some people. Right? If you are working on a data set, then you feel that the percentage of the missing value is greater than 50%. You should just drop such column. If it is greater than 50%, just don't bother yourself about it. But some other people will tell you, no, you have to find something to do with it. So to check the percentage, what you just need to do is firstly you divide it by the number of observations you have. Students dot shape. If you want to check the number of rows we have, we did that already. Student dot shape, then the first column is the row. So for the first name, I have 0.15 missing value. In order to make it be in a percentage, 100, just multiply whatever you get by 100. So here we have 15% missing value. Here 11, 7, 3, 11, 15, 1. So those are this is in percentage. Now, the another thing you can do is just you can round it up to two decimal places, but we don't need that right now. So how to deal with missing values now? Dealing with missing value. I think there are various ways you can deal with missing value. First thing you can do is you ask for the people you get the data from. Oh, maybe from a school. Okay, I found out that some of your students, some of their details were not entered. Can I get an updated data set for the students? That's one. You ask for more details. Another thing you can do is to drop such columns. You can drop the columns that have the missing point. For example, let's check the two dots. You can drop the student that have missing point. For example, this particular one, the second student, none. We can drop this one, then drop this as well. All those that have none, we just drop them. That's one way. Another way is to fill the missing value. You fill it, and when you are filling with the missing value, there are a lot of things you can do as well. You can decide to fill it with the mean. For example, you cannot fill the name with mean because we don't have the mean name or the median name. What you can do in this case is to fill it with maybe an arbitrary value, just use anything, or you fill it with the most frequent name. That one is not advisable in this particular case. For the score, you can fill if the data is normally distributed, you can decide to fill the mathematics score by the mean or the median. Then if it is skewed, you can fill it by the median. Another thing you can do is you can use forward fill and backward fill. For example, if you forward fill, you have none here. It will look for the name after none, which is Picard. So it will fill this with Picard. Then another one is backward fill. The value before the non-value will be filled with. Let's try and do that. Students dot to fill now, just type fill now. Then you put in a parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, you will signify what exactly you want to fill with. Students 2. Then you can start doing this. Okay, let's try the first one, to drop now. So the first column here, it removes all the data points. All data points with 8, 9. So we are left with just 9 data points. This is not advisable. For example, you are working on student data, then you are now telling them that you drop some, you were only able to work on just 9 students out of 26. So that's how to drop the data point. Then another thing you can do, if you find out that, for example, all of these are filled, the first name, the last name, the gender, but you find out that only biology has missing values, so you can drop the column student dot drop. Then you specify the name of the column, biology. Then by default, when I did it here, the axis by default is 0. I need to change the axis to 1. Axis equals to 1. Okay, I don't need to drop now. I just drop the whole column. Student.drop. And I drop the biology column. You can see that we don't have biology here anymore. We have economics and Greek, but we don't have biology. That's if you find out that it's only biology that has missing values. But whereas that's not the case here, we have other columns too with non-values. So you don't drop a column, or you don't do this. You don't drop a column, then you don't do this too. You don't drop rows. So what we can do is to try to fill those columns. So students 2 dot fill now, then so these are the different methods we can use. By default, anything you put will be used to fill the value. For example, let's say I want to fill. We can do this column by column actually. Then we can do this on the data set as a whole. For example, I want to fill now with missing. This missing, it means it is going to put missing in all the non-values in my data set. If it is under mathematics, under first name, under last name, everything there will be missing. You can see that this is missing, then here missing, then here missing. The same thing, it's going to put missing, it's going to put it in all the missing values there. So that is not advisable as well. So we can do this column by column. Students, then we call the first name. Then we fill dots, fill now. Then we fill it with, let's say, okay, we can actually work on the two. You can work on the first name and the last name together. Then we fill them with Olatunde. Students 2. You can see now, we have Olatunde in on our missing values. So for the subjects, students and subjects, we put biology, students 2. Oh, for the name, let's make use of forward and backward field. Back field. This is so this is backfill. This was missing before initially. This the student on the third column is missing. So when I filled it with backfill, I have it with Richard. I have Richard here. So it takes any value we have on the rows after it and use it to fill this. The opposite is just forward fill, F fill. So that we just take the value before and put it in the missing value. So that's that. We have Imran. The same thing for all other ones too. The mathematics, the English, everything we have there. So another thing we can do is to fill if students two. Then we can fill by subject. Say math dot fill now. Then we fill it by. It's good to always check. We can check the mean value for mathematics. Students 2. Dot mean. So the mean value for mathematics is 80.43. Let's check the median. So the median is 85. The two of them are somewhat close. You can use either of them. There are two things you can do here. You can decide to copy the whole of this and put it here. Fill now. We have everything filled. You can do this for each of the column. You can do this for each of the 5 subjects we have. Another thing you can do is just copy the value straight, then I'll put it inside the parentheses. $85.0. You can do this as well. But one thing you should take note when doing this, you are going to be renaming you will rename each of the column. For example, your new student math, your new mathematics for the student data 2 should be this field 1. So you do this for the mathematics, English, economics, agri, and other missing values. So these are different ways we can use to fill our missing value. We can use forward fill, backward fill. You can fill with mean, you can fill with median, you can fill with mode. Mode is the most frequent one in your data set. So I think this is a good place to stop for tonight. From tomorrow we can continue. Next class we continue from how to filter your data set. You want to subset. For example, you need data frame for particular students that have a particular score. Let's say students that they have level of intelligence from 5.0 and above. So that's where we are going to start in the next class. Let me try to just go over this once again. The first thing, you import your library, then you import your data sets. And I save the data set into the name variable. Then the info, it gives you basic information about the data set, which include the number of rows you have, the number of columns you have. Then it gives you brief information about the data type there too. Then you can use dataframe.shape to check the number of rows and columns you have in your data set. Then you can use .column to check the name of the columns. Then you can use .describe to check the statistical description of your data set. You have the mean, the median, the 75%, the maximum value, and the counts. Then you can check the maximum value, the minimum value. You can check the median. You can check the mode. You can check then you can check the head. You can use the head, the tail. Then you put in the number of rows you need, the number of observations you need. Then you can use the sum. By default, if you don't put anything, it is going to sum your value along the row. Then if you put axis equals to 1, it will give you the sum across the column. Then this is this is a sum across the column with the total. This is a new variable. Then the tail as well. Then how to reset index for your data set. Then how to check for missing values. So you use this to check the percentage of your missing values. This student.shape.1.0. You don't really need to put you don't really need to put this. You can just put in 26, which is the number of rows you have. You see that you still have the same results. But if you don't know the number of your data, the number of rows you have in your data frame, just do this. Just do student.shape, then 0. So how to check for missing values, then how to drop missing value. By drop now, it will drop all observations that has missing values, all observations that have missing values. Then if you specify .drop, then you put in the column. It will drop the particular column you specify in the parentheses. Then when you want to fill it, there are a lot of ways to fill it. You can just put in the value you want to fill in directly. Then you can use forward fill, you can use backward fill. Then you can fill with main, median, mode, or any other thing. If there is any question, this is a good time to ask. Do you have any question? Hello.
Hello, sir.
Do you have a question?
I want to make a request.
Okay.
Okay, please, can the data set you are using be shared?
Okay, no
With us.
problem. No problem. Let me just download it. Okay, I will put the two in the chat box now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Any other question?
I don't really have a question. I just want to ask, like, we are not really using the attendance, right? Because I was not able to do the attendance yesterday. And for almost like 3 days, 3 sessions now, I've not been taking the attendance.
So, do you ask because you've not been taking attendance, or you are not taking it because you think you will not be using it, or you are not using it? Or
No,
do you have issue with the attendance?
Actually, yesterday I wanted to take it, but I was not able to edit the form.
We are using the attendance. With time, some people will not have access to the recording again and some of the class materials.
Okay, no problem.
All right. So
I don't even know how to send the attendance.
You just click on your name, then
My name where?
on the sheet. Do you have your name on the attendance sheet? Your number?
I don't know.
What's your number? You don't know your number?
I just joined the class yesterday.
Okay. You should check the WhatsApp group description for details.
Okay, sir. So when I see my name, what do I do?
You mark your name where you have it. You click on the day. For example, today is the day 11.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, good night.